Information that passes back is just the student ID?
At the moment, yes, the only thing that is passing back is the student ID. In the future, it is possible to add on more information which you can pass back and forth, but presently it's just the student ID.
Do you have the demonstration?
Yep.
I lost mine. How quickly can you get it deactivated to shut it down? I lost mine. How quickly can you get it deactivated to shut it down?
Deactivated first.
So if we want to do that, because every one of these cards has a unique ID on every one of them, which it identifies one chip from another chip, we can instantly just say that your previous chip ID will no longer be accepted, and that card would be effectively deactivated. And additionally, because it's password protected and encrypted, nobody would be able to get the previous data off that card.
And another layer of security that we already have in place is, since these cards right now are just using the student ID, whenever a student goes into a lunch line and actually punches in their student ID, a picture of their Skyward account associated with that ID pops up on the monitor of the lunch staff. So with that, if a student were to take someone else's ID and try to get lunch, the original security we have in place there would solve that.
Are you talk with Mrs. Isom at all about possibly using this in the media center for when students need to check out books? Think they look up the same thing with the student IDs?
We have talked with them about doing that.
At the moment, we want to focus on getting the lunch lines done as the first baseline implementation to kind of get this in place. But after that, there's no problem at all with expanding this to things such as the library, or like signing in and signing out, or anything of the sort.
Will you be printing on these ID cards?
Yes.
So is it possible to print of the barcode? So I think right now your student
It's
ID has a
possible.
barcode on it.
I can show you mine.
So almost like you can have one ID that does
David,
both?
Let me see yours, David.
Yep. So this is a normal ID, and you have one printed with the chip in it?
Yes.
Yep.
This is the one that has the chip in it.
And this is one without a chip.
Perfect.
Wanna
So that way,
compare mine?
it's one size fits all. You can.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you actually take a flashlight and look through that one, you can see
You'd
the
see the-
you can see the
bar.
chip inside of it. Yeah.
Okay. Do students right now, I haven't gone through a student lunch line quite some, I see what the elementaries do, but not the high schools. Do you guys scan your student IDs?
No, we do
No,
not.
we
We
answer
actually
numbers.
physically type in the ID on a small keyboard,
Okay.
just a numpad, and have to hit enter. And that's where a lot of wait time comes from these lunch lines,
Or
because
miss
people,
punches and.
yeah, people don't always get it right, and they certainly don't do it as quickly as the system will.
Right.
So one thing that we wondered about before we started this project is, like, what percentage of students actually carry around their student ID? Because we thought maybe that'd be a potential problem, because like if people don't want to carry around their IDs. So what we did is we actually went around and surveyed all of our classes that we're in and took data, and we found that the overwhelming majority of students actually do keep their ID with them every day, which was kind of surprising, but very promising for this project.
Okay.
If they started requiring, especially those kids, you talked about the sign in and sign out. Those kids who are signing in and signing out now are coming in the building, they're requiring them to show their ID now, so they're changing that culture and making them carry them more, so that's helping.
Can I do devil's advocate here and say, why RFID? Why not just a barcode scanner at the lunch line? If the barcode's already on there?
We could use barcodes, but using a RFID NFC system will allow a lot more information to be stored on the actual card, and we'd be able to add more functionality onto this card in the future.
Okay.
Also faster.
It is.
Okay.
So typically, Jeff, what's happened in this class is I'm only here the first semester, so we get all these good ideas, and then they that's it. They present in December, and then I'm gone.
Right.
So we wanted to start earlier and get you guys in the loop to see if, you thought this was feasible, and could we actually do this thing and launch it so that when you come back from Christmas break, it might be a new process that these kids can be proud of and that works maybe. So
Right.
that's
I
one
mean,
reason.
I'm fine with the idea. I guess I'm shocked that it's still only a keypad in the cafeterias when everybody's carrying around a barcode. I mean, I understand a keypad for my kids are in elementary school, but I guess I thought there'd be something else. I'd be fine with the idea, obviously, but I would want to test it. We use more from comfort level. We use some pretty dated software for the lunch lines.
Right.
They're not using the web-based platform because it's slightly slower than the software version, so I'd want to make sure that it works. And I imagine that Mrs. Marangelli, who is the cafeteria manager, would probably be open that, I mean, the lunch lines aren't being used right now. It'd be very easy to see, can we use one computer, plug in that, program it, obviously, so it doesn't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever that it actually says, whatever your student ID numbers are, and just make sure that it can do what it can do.
Well, and that's the
Right.
next step, and they
Yeah.
have to collect that for their project.
Yep.
But we didn't wanna go down much further until we got your okay on next steps, but they have to do that and have usability statistics, and that would be the logical next step based on you guys supporting it, so.
Yeah, and I would want to mention, the current system we have to actually implement the, like, entering the ID is physically sending virtual key presses into the software, which will be exactly identical as to if you had typed it into a keyboard.
Yeah.
So while we haven't exactly tested it, I'm very confident that everything will interface
Yeah.
just fine.
Okay.
We have a lunch line, the garden line, that has 2 computers on it. It's the unique that, they actually split the line into 2, and they don't always use both. And in the past, when we've had to test something, we've used one of those 2, so that
Okay.
might be an ideal location. Sure.
Yep. Yeah.
So do you guys know your next steps? You know what you're doing next?
Yeah, the next steps would definitely be actually plugging it into one of those lunchline computers. There's a couple more technical things we'd like to update, but we do have a working implementation at the moment.
Yeah,
So-
and I don't know, this is not my purview or decision-making, but since we're talking about updating the cost of a student ID, maybe we can challenge Fishers as to, do we have to reprint a school ID every year? Yeah, I mean, it save costs, unless we obviously might need to reprint of new students, we need to reprint for the freshman class, we need to print for those that might lose them. And maybe at that point also, hey, it's 50 cents, like if you need a replacement badge or whatever to help cover the cost. But having to reprint an RFID card every year just because all that changed was the numeric value of what grade I'm in, maybe is not a cost that they want to go ahead and pursue with this, but. I
IDs
think
are
we can find-
updated, they are picture IDs, and they are updated every year, and so that may be
Right.
a pushback point, but.
Right.
We
So-
issue one freshman year at Purdue, and then they keep it, and then it's got the chip and everything in it for book fees and that kind of thing. And if you lose it, then it's $5 to get a replacement printed.
Yeah, that might be another step down the future after implementation.
So,
Love
what,
it.
sorry, what our vision was basically, so say a student does lose a student ID, how we do that process is basically, with that cost, I factored in 5,000 cards, so that would be enough to have plenty of extra cards in case that does happen. And what we would do with that is basically we would just keep those cards with the tech department or even maybe Mrs. Isom in the media center, and they would have access to a read and write scanner as well as the software to very easily just reprogram the card and hand it out to the student.
And I should mention, at the moment, the actual reprogramming of these cards takes less than a second, so it's not gonna be any considerable time.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you